Well, thank you all for coming. We'll probably have a few stragglers coming in the back, but I'm really excited to be here. My name is JT Rose. I lead product marketing and growth for Azure Blockchain and for blockchain at Microsoft all up. Excited to be here for this week. We have a booth out on the floor. We're looking forward to having individual conversations with all of you guys about building with blockchain on Azure. I'm going to cover a couple of things in this session. The first is just a brief primer on what is blockchain. Now, Mark Rusinovich, who's our CTO of Azure, has a session later this week where he'll go into sort of detail on the inner workings of blockchain that I suggest all of you go to. I will certainly be at that session. And he can go into a lot more detail about the technical workings, but I'll cover just a little bit about what blockchain is. I'll move on to why it's relevant for business. So why have our customers come and started? Am I getting some feedback on this thing, JR? All right. Like a dog whistle. We're all good? Cool. I'll move on to why is it relevant for business. So why have our customers, our enterprise customers, started to come talk to us in the last 2 or 3 years about building with blockchain? What sorts of things are they trying to do that's net new? And then I'll move on to what Microsoft is doing in this space, what technology we're building, what gaps we're looking to fill. And then finally, we have the privilege of two speakers that are going to join us on stage. Egosa Ojo is the head of innovation at a company called Interswitch in Nigeria, and they are building a supply chain financing platform using Azure Blockchain Workbench that can essentially bridge the gap between traditional project finance infrastructure on the African continent and a growing small sort of enterprise economy that hasn't had traditional access to financing. So that's really exciting to see that progress and hear from him. We'll also have Arun Ghosh, who leads the blockchain practice at KPMG for the United States, up on stage as well to talk about the business that they're building with blockchain on Azure. So what is blockchain? And for those of you who know blockchain, this may be a little bit rudimentary, but bear with me for the next few minutes. I'll start with this quote from Mark Andreessen. I think a lot of the attention in the past year or two around blockchain has centered on Bitcoin. It's been sort of the point of entry for most folks. And its potential the potential of digital currencies to sort of reshape the way we exchange value. It's been an exciting year for the crypto world. I think Bitcoin has a market cap moving around $100 billion, and it's used by millions of people to do everything from fund Kickstarter campaigns to send remittances, foreign remittances back home. Understandably, there's sort of a lot of excitement around cryptocurrency. I think for Microsoft, we have sort of looked beyond that use case and see it as really the underpinning technology for a new class of applications. A new class of application that can span multiple organizations, allowing organizations that may not trust one another to share data and to share business logic. And so blockchain in this sense is really a sort of new data structure with a compute element to it. We'll get into how it works in a second, but it ensures that the data on the ledger is immutable. And that immutability, I think, is what our customers are most interested in. What can you go do with data that is authentic or valid or immutable and agreed upon by multiple parties? You can do things that are relatively mundane, like take out the processes that you typically have in place, reconciliations and audits, to make sure that data is valid. But you can also do really exciting things, like enable an AI model to not just recommend action, but then go take it, because you know that the data that's fed into it is immutable. So that's really been sort of the test, I think, of use cases for us is what net new would you go do with immutability that you wouldn't do today. So what is blockchain? I think at risk of completely oversimplifying things, it's really just a sort of a simple ledger, like a T account in accounting. It is a write once, read many times ledger. And once something goes on, it cannot come off. It's this ledger with two unique characteristics. The first is that it's shared. or it's distributed amongst multiple organizations or parties. Much like Excel Online, if one party commits a transaction to the ledger, each of the participants in that network's nodes are updated with that transaction. The second is that it's cryptographically immutable. So in order for me or another network participant to add a transaction to the ledger, the network participants must agree that that is true or authentic. And this is done through a mechanism called consensus that the participants in the network pre-agreed to use to verify the authenticity of a given transaction or set of transactions. I'm still getting feedback on this thing, JR. And this is important because once something goes on the ledger, it's signed and hashed and cannot be altered down the road. Well, I was supposed to be clicking through this, but I was a little bit distracted by the feedback. So why is blockchain relevant for our customers? Why have our customers been coming to us to talk about blockchain? I think the sort of a theme of this week, and Satya mentioned it a little bit in his keynote this morning, that technology is sort of constantly changing the way we do business. But trust is still really the lubricant of multi-party commerce. Anytime that you are collaborating with someone outside of your own organization, you sort of inherently have to trust them. You may not mistrust them, but you're trusting that suppliers will deliver the inputs for your manufacturing process on time and in full. I trust that a partner is going to treat my customer data with care. I may trust that the contractual obligations that I have outlined with a supplier are going to be met. Building that trust is expensive, it's valuable, but it's also super expensive to lose. The consequences of a breach of trust often don't just impact one company, but can impact an entire industry. If you think about, there was a salmonella outbreak at a peanut butter company a few years back, and of course the peanut butter company went out of business, but there was also a 25% decrease in just global demand for peanut butter. And so farmers and manufacturers and logistics companies that were sort of tangentially related to the peanut butter industry all suffered because of this. There was another example with Samsung a couple of years ago where they were having issues with their batteries, and they were ultimately able to figure it out, but there was a drop in consumer confidence for consumer electronics all up. And so this sort of cascading effect of breaches of trust, I think, is something that we all may know an example of. And despite how important it is, the traditional ways that we manage trust are actually pretty inefficient. They're pretty antiquated. We have paper contracts with counterparties that sort of state the expectations that we have for them. They outline obligations. They stipulate penalties for non-compliance, or perhaps rewards for doing things the right way. And then we spend a tremendous amount of time measuring performance against those contracts. So you have these sort of expensive reconciliations, look-back audits where I look at a sample of your work to see if you did it according to the specifications that we agreed upon. Xbox, I think, is a great example of this. We have a platform where content publishers publish games, Ubisoft, EA, Activision, a long tail of indie developers publishing games on Xbox. And for the Xbox finance team spends a tremendous amount of time each day and each month reconciling who is owed what in the royalty process. So you can imagine Ubisoft has a game, maybe it's a FIFA soccer game, and they have to pay FIFA, they have to pay Manchester United, they have to pay Wayne Rooney. There's sort of this cascade of debt for every individual transaction. There's 8 million transactions per day just with Ubisoft alone. And when we sat down with the Xbox finance team, we found out that they were managing this with Excel. They had a partner that was in there that was basically manually scrubbing what had happened, and they were going through it and sort of putting together a ledger of debits and credits. What do we owe you? And we were just doing that for Ubisoft, and Ubisoft had to turn around and go do that for each of their downstream partners. So there was a tremendous amount of inefficiency, obviously, in doing that by hand. But you also open up the possibility of human error. You open up the possibility of fraud. And should there be a a mistake, you're dealing with it retroactively. It's not something that's dealt with in real time. So it was taking about 45 days for us to give Ubisoft a view of what we owed them, or what they were going to get, which is not necessarily a problem for Ubisoft. It's an inconvenience. But for a small developer, it was a huge problem because they needed to be able to go out and take out debt to go develop their next game or the next title. And so what we did, the promise of blockchain, I think, is really to remove a lot of that unnecessary friction that we put in place to sort of simply manage trust across parties. Xbox Finance, Azure, the Azure Blockchain Engineering team, my team, and Ubisoft, we built a shared utility and we basically outlined what amounted to sort of a state machine and codified these really complex royalty agreements into smart contracts, into code that could then self-execute on the blockchain, allowing all parties to have an immutable record of who owed what in real time. And again, for Ubisoft, this is interesting because they're able to get a sort of a real-time view of sales and make more real-time decisions around their business and content and development and stuff like that. But for a small developer, they may take that immutable accounts receivable and go to a bank and say, hey, listen, I have transactions. People are buying my stuff on the Xbox platform. I want to go develop my next game. Can we use this as a security and take a loan out against it? Can I collateralize this immutable accounts receivable? When I talk about where does blockchain create net new value, it's where can you do something completely net new with that immutability? And that, I think, is a really illustrative example of it. Looking across industries, what we found is that blockchain, like sort of IoT and ERP before it, very horizontal technology. We get asked quite a lot, like, what is the blockchain use case? What we found is that if there is an asset that is moving across organizational or trust boundaries with a requirement for audit, then blockchain becomes a really interesting shared data layer to manage the movement of that asset, or perhaps allow you to write smart contracts to sort of stipulate the terms under which that asset can move. Now, that asset can be financial, it can be digital, like royalty IP, or it could be physical. It could be something on a supply chain, track and trace. We have a couple of examples up here. With 3M, we were working, they cared about pharmaceuticals, high-value pharmaceuticals, as they moved across a custodial chain from their from a laboratory to an end retail shelf. They wanted to attack this challenge of high-value pharmaceuticals being tampered with along the way, so they had a sort of a special double-sided QR code label that they were able to put on packages that was sort of scanned at each point in the custodial chain to make sure that only people who should have had access to the pharmaceuticals could. With Bank Hapo Alim, this is an Israeli bank, the asset was a bank guarantee that was used to secure financing for capital projects. With Webjet, I don't know if many of you are familiar with Webjet, they're similar to sort of an Expedia, they're an aggregator in Australia and New Zealand. And what they found was that their asset was hotel reservations and hotel inventory, particularly during high traffic times, the holidays. Their hotel partners were having difficulty with multiple aggregators selling their inventory, keeping one version of the truth, so that basically the cost of doing business that they had grown to expect and grown to accrue for was there's just going to be errors. We're going to have upset customers. We're going to double book rooms. It's just part of life. And they sort of scratched at that and said, can we do better with sort of an immutable record? Much like Xbox, I think this is illustrative of a problem that was addressed with a hotel chain and Webjet, but then we found out that multiple hotel chains shared the same problem. And it wasn't just hotel chains, it was airlines and car rental agencies. Everybody had problems with inventory. And so what you saw happen is these early POCs and pilots that were being built on Azure were turning into industry utilities. Problems that one set of consortium participants may have were also shared by the industry. And so just as with Xbox, it was initially built with Ubisoft, but quickly you could imagine other content providers coming onto the platform. With Webjet, they were doing the same thing for the travel industry. The last one I'll mention is Singapore Airlines. I mention this because our friends at KPMG were instrumental in building this one with us. What they wanted to do was track loyalty points from their Crisp Payer or their Crisp Flyer points. And so they had a group of 18 retailers that said, I would be willing to accept these points if you could sort of tokenize them. And so they did that, which is, the retailers are interested because they want to be able to get new customers. But interestingly, what they found was that millennials like me were using the Crisp Payer points. I book budget flights. I book far in advance because I'm cheap. And I was using the points on things, on durable goods, on Warby Parker sunglasses, or on things that were sort of big expenses that I wanted to subsidize. My mother was using it on gas and groceries and other things. And so you have this really interesting cross-company profile that you can then market against that you weren't able to have when each of these individual companies just had their customer profiles in isolation. So what are we doing with blockchain? We've been in this space since about 2015. Marley Gray wrote a note directly to Satya asking for $1 million to go build the blockchain business at Microsoft because he was worried that it was going to be the future of financial services. And his pitch was apparently compelling enough because Peggy gave him the money, and he's been sort of the principal architect for the last couple of years. To us, there's a handful of areas where we can make things easier. Early on, the ledgers were actually sort of not designed for enterprise use. Right? They were designed for sort of churning out cryptocurrency. And so there was a set of work that we did with the Azure Confidential Computing team in Microsoft Research to use secure enclaves to sort of rewrite the approach to consensus to see if we could improve latency and throughput for the underlying ledgers to bring them closer to sort of a relational database. I think Mark will talk a little bit about that work in his session. The second thing is DevOps for smart contracts. And so managing smart contracts across multiple ledgers and multiple languages, versioning across multiple organizations is a huge challenge. It's not something that we've solved entirely yet, but something that we have some of the best minds on Michael's team working on in private preview with customers. The final thing is integration. At the end of the day, the blockchain is really just this new data structure, and on top of it, customers were building distributed applications. And application development is a space that Microsoft knows quite well. And so we felt like this was an area that we could really help. Because what we found was that there were a variety of challenges to building these new applications. There was no pattern that had emerged yet. People were building these things from scratch every time, and there were these concentric circles of relevant services that they kept using. But the scaffolding of the application was taking up a disproportionate amount of the development time. Instead of spending time on the workflow and the state machine and the smart contract, they were spending way too much time scaffolding together a cloud application. That was something that we felt like we could lean in and help. When I say scaffolding together an application, I mean things like API management. I mean things like, where do I store my public and private keys? Can I put them in Azure Key Vault? I mean things like, can I synchronize on-chain data with an off-chain database like SQL so that my DBAs can work with the data because it's really difficult to query a blockchain? I mean things like building a web client. This is stuff that 80–90% of the apps had in common, and we felt like we could templatize so that customers could spend a lot more time on the logic of the smart contracts. So Azure Blockchain Workbench is an offering that we introduced at Build. And the goal of it was really three things. We wanted to simplify development down from months to build that first application just to a couple of days. We wanted to accelerate time to value for these consortiums that were trying to work together in ways that they hadn't done before, and just the cloud scaffolding was getting in the way. And we wanted to allow customers to innovate with confidence. We wanted them to use the tools that they were familiar using. You already have to write the smart contract in Solidity or some weird version of Go. The least we can do is make it easy to integrate with SQL or associate your blockchain-based identity with a federated identity system like Active Directory. So this is what Workbench sort of does. The first thing is it allows you to work with a ledger of your choice. We don't have the point of view that there is a one-size-fits-all ledger yet. There may be down the road, but if you look at the database space, there's different databases for different uses. We think that there will be different blockchains for different uses. In some cases, when you have relatively static counterparties, the channel approach of Hyperledger Fabric is super elegant and useful. But when you start to have counterparties that are changing and are dynamic, then much like Slack, you sort of have this unwieldy channel approach that just doesn't really work. And so something like Quorum might actually work better. So I think a real driving architectural principle for us is choice, and that you should be able to use the ledger that most suits your needs. The second thing we did, like I said, is integrate these ledgers with these concentric circles of relevant services that customers were using to build these applications, things like identity management and key management. With our data platform tools, being able to pull data off of the ledger into a database that I'm familiar working with so that I can analyze it and visualize it with things like Power BI. Messaging. I think the pattern for many of these asset transfer blockchain applications is ingest data, transform it into the format that's expected by the blockchain's native API with microservices that are available in Workbench, and then based on the outcome of the smart contract, trigger downstream actions. So how can we do eventing and messaging with tools like Event Grid and Service Bus? And then finally, connecting it to the existing tools that your companies are using to manage these shared workflows today. This shouldn't be a net new application that everybody has to learn how to use. How can we connect this with functions and logic apps to the systems of record that everybody is familiar using? Things like Adobe and SAP, Dynamics, Salesforce, et cetera. Michael's going to walk through a smart contract with Agosa that they built for InterSwitch in a little bit more detail, but I just want to, this is available on the Azure Marketplace. You go into the Azure portal, and the provisioning experience is very simple. You configure your network parameters, your Active Directory parameters, you set up Azure Monitor, and you provision it. And when you provision it, it gives you a web app that looks much like Teams or SharePoint or other Microsoft applications. The one thing we don't do is code the smart contracts. That's the yeoman's work of blockchain, is understanding the states, the actors, the roles, defining the state machine, and translating that into a smart contract. But if you can develop the smart contract, you drop it into this harness and it auto-populates the app for you. And what we found is that this cuts down the amount of time to build that first application significantly. So what you end up doing is focusing on the things that only you can uniquely do and not things that sort of your cloud provider can do. Before I have Agosa come up on stage, I wanted to show one thing. I did say that we don't write smart contracts, but we know that it's hard, and we do have some experience with it. Let me see. So on docs.microsoft.com, we have a ton of great documentation on how to use the Workbench, how to set it up, how to set up Active Directory subscriptions for multiple organizations. There's documentation on the REST API. And there's a link in the documentation that takes you to a Git repo. And in that repo, we have a number of sample smart contracts. We basically have smart contracts for the 8 or 9 workflows that our customers were most frequently doing: asset transfer, token registry, basic provenance. We've mapped out sort of what the state machine looks like, what are the counterparties, and then we have the JSON file there for you to rip apart, update, customize, and you can drop that directly into Workbench and get started. I think the team has been super thoughtful about what are ways that we can make it easier for people to get started, and this is certainly one of those ways. At this point, I want to invite Agosa Ojo and Michael to come up on stage to talk a little bit about InterSwitch business and where blockchain was relevant, and then dive a little bit deeper into what it takes to build a smart contract and manage it using the blockchain workbench.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, JT, and thank you, Microsoft, for having InterSwitch come share our story as to how we've used Workbench to try to revolutionize the supply chain industry in Nigeria. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Egosa Ojo. I look after innovation at InterSwitch, and I'll be telling our story. So before I get started, just to paint a little bit about who we are as a business, InterSwitch is a technology company at its core, but we have our core competencies in providing payment solutions across our market. So our business is predominantly driven by 5 business divisions, and those 5 business divisions are on your left there. And we're also a Pan-African company with in-country presence in 4 African countries. We're also operational in 20 other African countries as well. And from a brand perspective, we are known by 3 brands. First is the InterSwitch Master brand. And we have a Verve brand, which basically powers our card business. Then we have a more consumer-facing brand, which is the QuickTeller brand. And with that out of the way, I'll quickly tell how our journey started. So I think late last year, Michael and his team were able to come to our office to come tell us about a new blockchain rapid application development platform that they have built. And we thought to ourselves, okay, if it's going to accelerate our development, why not let's go see what this thing can do. So we hopped on the plane, flew some engineers down to Redmond, and basically had a deep dive with the engineers who built Workbench. And following that realization and the new knowledge we got, we were able to tell ourselves, okay, what's the best way to use this new knowledge than to build something? So what was the problem that we were trying to check? We were trying to solve. Now look at the description highlighted in bold. It says the highest self-employment rates are in low-income countries such as Nigeria and Zambia. That's from the Global Entrepreneurship Development Institute, and that survey was done this year in 2008. And so basically what that is saying is, yes, there's this growing entrepreneurial community in Nigeria, but but what is the World Economic Forum saying now? The World Economic Forum is saying on the other side that the biggest problem these entrepreneurs have is access to financing. So let's take an average Joe, for instance, someone we fondly called Jimmy and Sons during our design phase. Jimmy and Sons basically engages a large corporate to want to buy stuff in large quantities from the large corporate. But because the large corporate knows that Jimmy and Sons is very small, it tells Jimmy and Sons, go get a bank guarantee. And then Jimmy and Sons trots along, goes to the bank. The bank says, I don't know you, you're too small. You're risk averse. I don't have credibility about you. But if I'm going to take a bet on you, I'm going to slam you this much cost to grant you this bank guarantee. Now, Jimmy and Son, because he wants to do business, would take that bank guarantee cost and basically ask the bank to issue that bank guarantee. Now, that's when the problem starts. Now, the bank begins to go through a lot of hurdles, and at the end of the day, it takes an average about 2 to 3 months to get one bank guarantee out. Now, think about that for a minute. If it takes a business, a small business, 2 to 3 months to be able to get an instrument to be able to do one business with a large corporate, that means that that small business can maybe do 4 trips or 4 sales cycles in a year. I'm not sure that sounds like good business. So what did we do? We engaged the actors in the entire supply chain, which are the banks, the corporates, and of course the Jimmy and Sons, and we basically co-created together to try to remove all the barriers that exist in the entire blockchain workflow of a supply chain management. Now, what we found out was that if it takes 2 to 3 months for Jimmy and Sons to get financing, and we have come together to co-create and remove all these issues, it means that because I'm speaking to banks now, banks and corporates who have all these issues, or rather, they have all these process issues. We decided that they will remove all these issues and then have a streamlined process for which it will take 2 to 3 weeks to get the bank's guarantee out. Now, at the end of the day, the solution that we developed was around creating a workflow system using Azure Blockchain and Workbench, obviously, as our tool to create this workflow process that basically starts from when Jimmy and Sons request the bank guarantee up to the point where Jimmy and Son gets the bank guarantee, and further down to up to the point where Jimmy and Son pays back that bank guarantee. And that was what we've been able to design using the smart contract. Now, from a solution description perspective, what this diagram is basically saying is that Jimmy and Sons would approach the corporate, and then the corporate asks Jimmy and Sons, like I said earlier, go get the bank guarantee. Jimmy and Sons approaches any of the banks, and they agree financial terms, and those terms are now coded as a smart contract, and the contract request now starts using the application. Now, let me quickly share with you how we actually did what I'm talking about. Now, the way Workbench works as a state machine. You need to basically write things. It requires 2 files, basically, 2 critical files. The first file is the JSON file, like what JT said earlier. And the JSON file basically states the workflow in states. And from each state, defines the states and the transitioning states. And for each transitioning state, it defines the functions. And for each function, which role is allowed to perform this function. Now, that is what we've done based on this process map that we've defined. This is what we did with the banks, using a little bit of design thinking to create all these different states and processes that will exist in our solution. But this was actually our initial thinking when we were at Redmond, when we actually got to try to define the solution by ourselves. But like I said, we formed a consortium of banks, corporates, and us, and then basically defined an optimal flow. And now what this optimal flow basically says is that, and you can follow it through the legend, the blue basically says the states that we start from, and then the transitioning states as well. The personas or roles are in orange, and then that basically says who has the role or right to do this app, or rather to perform this action. And then, of course, the block in green basically says the action. And this sits pretty well with how Workbench works, because if you create, the example here, or this is not actually an example, this is actually the flow that we defined. You start a new bank guarantee request, and the next state will be to verify the customer. But in creating the new bank guarantee, what we are saying here is that the person that has the right to do that is the bank admin. And the action that's being carried out here is the create sales contract. Now, once that is done, it moves and transits to the verify customer state, and the person that is supposed to do that is the corporate sales officer, and then the action there is verified. Now, if you do and lay out your entire workflow system in this manner from start to finish, it gives you an idea of what your JSON file will look like. And your JSON file will basically be all the states and the functions and the personas. Now, what the smart contract logic file basically does, now this is written in Solidity, will basically just implement the functions which are in green here. And so this is basically how we started the process from beginning to end, and then we were able to have a solution. At this point, Michael will basically show you live transactions that we did during UAT. Michael?
Awesome, thank you, Agosa. And so what we have here is, to Agosa's point, the actual implementation and the working smart contract. So this is from our user acceptance testing environment here at InterSwitch. It's running in the InterSwitch Azure subscription, but we also have deployments at each of the bank and corporate counterparties that are involved in this consortium. So the idea is each counterparty brings their own Azure subscription. We use secure VNet and application gateways to connect those together. And so that this view here, what I'm going to show you kind of represents one of our banking partners in this consortium. but it would easily be the exact same view across the entire consortium, and that's what makes it so powerful. So first, the states. So here we see that the entire workflow has been completed by virtue of this green filled-in circle. It was a 19-step process. And these are all the steps that Egosa just articulated, the creation of the new guarantee, the verification between the bank and the corporate, the releasement of what's called the authorities to collect, and so forth. What's nice here is I've got the state change happening, but then here's where the power of the blockchain is these are the actual blocks themselves. So each individual state change is getting its own hash, its own digital signature, tied to the identity of the counterparty that actually made the state change possible. So this is our immutable record of the fact that we know the bank and the corporate have agreed to extend this instrument, this bank guarantee, to the Jimmy and Sons. And we also have this feature here. This is our Active Directory integration here. I've assigned members to the individual smart contract instance. And I've actually got two capabilities here. One is I can assign it at a global app level. I could say a bank manager might have global authority to approve any smart contract instance come in, or I might have a specific manager that's tied to a certain group of small businesses or corporates, and they only get to authorize and authenticate based on a certain smart contract instance. Either way, this is all just taking advantage of your existing Azure Active Directory investment or Active Directory investment. What we did with InterSwitch is we federated it, so we have an InterSwitch AAD that federates to the bank and to the corporate AADs. So now we're doing basically single sign-on, where as a banker, I log in using my existing network credentials, and InterSwitch doesn't have to manage that account. InterSwitch can just be at their expertise of managing the smart contract and the cloud network and the DevOps, and let the bank do the user administration as they see fit. So then I also have what's in the smart contract. So the smart contract solidity defines the data I'm going to collect. Now notice here I don't have all of the pricing details. Because this is blockchain, all the participants would have access to all the details in this ledger. So we have to be a little bit thoughtful. So what we're doing here is we're basically using this, as Egosa says, as the state machine to prove the fact that these transactions happened and we know the counterparties that advanced them. But then what we're doing here is referencing where the actual terms and conditions documents live, so that we can apply additional access controls on those documents. So these would be PDF files in blob storage that would be locked down by Azure Information Protection or other security features, so that they're only available to the authorized counterparties and not generally accessible. So this prevents, say corporates poaching other small business customers by looking at the terms and offering something more favorable. So again, a lot of flexibility in Azure Blockchain Workbench to define exactly what lives on-chain. All of this data is then copied off-chain to the off-chain database, where you can do analytics, you can do AI, you can do machine learning. And then again, you're getting all of these APIs. It's event-driven. Egosa's team actually extended this, where they created a whole notification system, so the bankers are actually getting emails whenever the smart contract changes. So a very flexible and powerful and robust system.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me good? Hello? Yeah. Thanks, Michael, for that. Now,
Egosa, and one last plug, shamelessly. If you don't have an Africa strategy in 2018, and I hear all these tech conferences, where's the talent? It's in Nigeria. 7th largest country in the world, amazing tech ecosystem, and amazing partners like InterSwitch. So that's why we represent Nigeria.
Thanks, Michael. Fantastic, fantastic. And so just to run you through a few of the, winding down the presentation now, a few of the useful Azure services that we used. The first is definitely the Azure Active Directory, like Michael said. We did not need to basically recreate user management for the app. We just allow the users log on with their existing Active Directory accounts. And imagine a bank, wherever, with Active Directory, having a profile to access the app. We didn't have to do all that user management. So Active Directory was very useful. The storage blob also was something very useful, because we did not want to overbloat the data on chain. We stored the actual location of, or rather the actual document, which usually is the bank guarantee document. We stored it off chain, and we stored it on the Azure storage blob. What we did was to hash that file and basically take that hash and store on chain, so that when you want to check the file, if anybody changes it, the hash will not match. The other useful services that we used is the Azure Logic app, where we basically have the opportunity to write to or talk to external entities. We used it in conjunction with the event grid because, of course, like you know, the event grid is a repertoire of where you house events. So what we did with the event grid and the Logic app is basically for the Logic app to listen to events from the event grid. Events like Michael said, when an action is performed, an email is sent. So the Logic app will listen for an action that has been performed and basically send out an email after the action is performed. This is my last slide. So what are the benefits that we have seen for using Workbench? From Intuos's perspective, we look at Microsoft as a trusted partner because they have helped us to provide a platform that allows us to rapidly develop our blockchain competence. They're a partner that continues to innovate for the customer, and we find that it's very, very, very beneficial. Now, the other benefit to us is that Workbench, being a RAD platform, allows us to basically focus on the smart contracts. Like JT says, you don't need your developers to try to code UI or to try to roll up their sleeves and do the DevOps or do anything blockchain. All you need to do is just code the smart contract. And that created a lot of, reduced the time to development, time to POC, and you have the time to quickly validate your POC. And then, as we are doing right now, we are transiting our blockchain application to the live environment in a few days, actually. Then the last benefit to us is that imagine a world or rather a market where we belong. You know, I talked about the average Jimmy and Sons earlier, who's the entrepreneur. Now imagine a world where he has the opportunity to come on this platform and be able to make, like I said earlier, we cut this from 2 to 3 months down to 2 to 3 weeks. Now, this gives the average Jimmy and Sons the ability to do a lot more transactions. The corporates have the ability to sell more because their sales cycle increases. Then the banks themselves have the ability to make more money because, you know, they are churning out a lot more bank guarantees to the customer. The average Jimmy and Sons can scale his business. He can employ more people, and that in itself would drive economic growth in our market. And that sits pretty well with our vision and our desire at IntoSwitch, where we are looking to provide an infrastructure that allows our customers to prosper. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thanks, Agosa.
There you go.
Thanks. Is this thing on? There we go. So the last speaker we're going to have come up is Arun Ghosh. And Arun leads the blockchain practice for KPMG in the US. And they've been building, using Workbench, sort of a completely new business line for KPMG. And he's been working with customers sort of across industries to apply blockchain to their business. So, Arun?
Thank you. I get the privilege of going last. Is everybody awake? Yeah, perfect. So, do I go next? All right. So, a little history about blockchain and KPMG. I think it's relevant. It's one of those things where you raise your hand and you own it. So I raised my hand and now I own it. And so, in the spirit of full transparency, how many of you know KPMG? Oh, perfect. So we're the smallest of the big four. We're still part of the big four. And we essentially are looking at blockchain. At least about 18 months ago, we started looking at blockchain. We said, you know, what is this thing going to do to us, right? Both internally at our business, because we audit companies. We audit financial statements. It's a significant part of our business. We do tax advisory work. We do a lot of tax policy management and customs and trade work for many, many global companies. And then we looked at consulting, right? This is a pretty large part of our business, and we said, what does this technology mean to the world, right? What is it going to mean to our own customers, right? And how do we align the digital agenda? So everybody wants to be digitally enabled, right? It's AI, it's machine learning, it's analytics, it's big. 4 years ago, same cycle with Hadoop, right? We looked at that tiny elephant and look where it's gone, right? And so today, when about a year ago, our first foray into blockchain was within pharmaceuticals, right? And how many of you work in pharmaceuticals? Anybody in life sciences? Oh, there we go. So the FDA had a regulation called the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, the DSCSA, which essentially asks for proof of destruction of product as well as full supply chain transparency. And so when we looked at that, we said, maybe blockchain can help. And we started exploring it, right? And today we have many active conversations and many active engagements in this space. And since then, we've sort of evolved our thinking to say, hey, if it applies to pure supply chain transparency, why can it not apply to other places like what we call front, middle, and back office? So front office is essentially your customers' engagement, your sales force. Middle office is essentially your procurement, your supply chain, your regulatory operations, and then back office is finance, okay? And we were very fortunate that Microsoft asked us about 6 months ago to deploy Microsoft Workbench at Microsoft, right? A lot of Microsoft in that sentence, right? But it was very timely because there's a very real issue that we try to address, which is essentially from purchase order to fulfillment. So you go back to the workflow at InterSwitch, very similar. What problem are you trying to solve, right? And so one of the big issues at Microsoft was the acquisition of assets and the distribution and management of that assets in corporate finance, corporate accounting, as well as in procurement operations, right? And in terms of what exists today, right? A lot of people come up and a lot of folks ask me, why blockchain? The simple counter question I have is why not blockchain, right? And what has become very easy to use and easy to deploy is Workbench. This engagement, a lot of people say, oh my God, we got to define a design, we have to get people trained. Not really. This thing was 10 weeks, right? And the reason we were able to do this in 10 weeks is the ability to configure core components of Azure Blockchain Workbench. And of course, the phenomenal support we got from the product engineering teams, the one commercial partner teams. I have to give a plug out for them. And the enormous patience they had as we onboarded onto this new platform and tool. Okay. Any questions at any point? Nope? Okay. A lot of people are looking at me. I'm the last thing between you and a cocktail. I get it. I'll move. So these are the 4 big stakeholders that were involved, right? Nobody actually thought of blockchain when we walked into to solve the functional issue, right? It's like any other technology. What are you trying to solve, right? And if you can solve something with what you have today, the big answer to everybody's intercompany, intertransaction is I can write this in XML. I can do this in EDI today. Yes, you can, but that takes time. How do you bring 4 distinct parties onto a shared ledger that is looking at the same information at the same time that it's being written, and it's being read as it's being written? How do you perform an analytics that tells you not only what device was procured, but where it went, and how much should you pay, and to whom and why? These are big questions people have answers to, and guess where the answers are? In spreadsheets, unfortunately, right? Nobody's taking away spreadsheets. That's why you have Power BI. But then if you add on Power BI to something like this, now you have better visibility and more productivity to what you're doing. And again, I go back to my, the initial premise of blockchain is, can I do it? Yes. Does it going to cost billions of dollars? Not really. Do I need the talent? Not really. As JT pointed out, it's as simple as understanding a state-driven workflow as well as how to construct a JSON. That's all it is. And then the rest of Azure follows, right? So when people ask again, you go, what did you use for persistence? You can have an off-chain SQL data store. That's what we did. Very easy. What is hard is defining what gets written to the ledger and why. A large part of the exercise is bringing and having those functional discussions with the business counterparts, as well as defining the governance process for it, right? And then the final question about, or the issue becomes, is why blockchain when I can do this in my SAP Ariba, in my order management system? Well, how do you exchange information with your third-party suppliers? How do you deal with interconnectivity that you do today with batch transactions or any other type of service-oriented architecture, right? And with Workbench microservices, what we found was not only can you enable the DLT, but you can start building these smart contracts and then sharing them in private permissioned way with whomever your supplier network would be, okay? A lot of folks ask, what does the blockchain look like? You looked at the admin console from InterSwitch, right? You looked at what Michael was talking about. But if you do not have a good user experience, what is in the ledger, what's coming out of the ledger, how do you manage inventory levels, how do you certify the user roles? This is where the Active Directory integration is so critical, because each of these screens, the UX is very defined to who's watching what and why, right? Again, going back to the design thinking concept, this is no different than how you would build any kind of a portal, any kind of a user experience for any kind of an app to drive one of the either procure to pay or a fixed asset solution, which is what this was. Okay? And these are some of the components that I talked about already, but it is out there on docs.microsoft.com. It is something that you can easily get on board and get up to speed with. We had, again, I go back to the Microsoft engineering teams and the One Commercial Partner teams that are amazing in helping us not only understand, but deploy. Right? It's one thing to say, oh, go read this. The other thing is to actually help us do it, and we had amazing support to do that. And that's why it took us 10 weeks. But the next phase is, how many of you are familiar with proof of work versus proof of authority? Right. So this implementation was proof of work. We're now looking at proof of authority as the next transition as this scales. Because scale is always going to be something that you have to define as you design. Did I say that right? Yeah, I did. Define design, yes. Right? JT?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to give a big round of applause to both Rosa Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Can you guys hear me? These two are pioneering completely new businesses using Azure. And while they're doing it, they're giving us tremendous feedback on our product and helping us get better. If any of you in the room are sort of grappling with how to get started with blockchain, I seriously advise that you come and speak to Arun after the session. Come talk to us on the floor at the booth. Blockchain is a journey, and whether you're sort of just exploring, trying to get your hands dirty with the ledger, you have a particular workflow that you'd like to model on Workbench, you have an application that you're looking to connect to existing systems of record, or if you're looking for a partner like KPMG to help you think through the business transformation and the governance of this new utility, Azure is really the best cloud for blockchain-based applications, and that's in part because we have great partners like KPMG. The last thing I'd leave you with is we have a number of members of our engineering team here. We have PMs and devs, folks that can have all levels of discussion with you all. Come visit us at the booth. Please go to Mark Russinovich's session. It's really good. I'm definitely going to go to it. Join the conversation on the Microsoft Tech community. You can find it through the Ignite app. The Workbench tool is available on the Azure Marketplace, so go check out the documentation. Go check out the sample smart contracts. And one last call out for me. We launched our Microsoft @MSFT blockchain Twitter handle today. Please give us a follow. If you give me a follow and you show me, I'll give you a t-shirt at the booth. I'm shamelessly trying to get followers for that because I really do think it is a way for me and the entire engineering team to communicate with you all. We're going to send out great technical documentation, use cases, introduce folks to partners like KPMG. So it's sort of a one-stop shop for us, and we're going to invest a lot in that. So give us a follow. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.